Ben Amsler lived in a small, cozy apartment in Berkeley, California, with his girlfriend, Audrey. He was a business analyst at an electronics company, and alongside work, Ben was also pursuing a degree at college. He found taking classes at night worked better with his busy schedule, so every evening, Ben would be on his way to the university. Ben was a happy-go-lucky guy. He always tried to stay positive in his life. But today, Ben was returning home after a long, exhausting day, feeling absolutely depressed and heartbroken. He had just received a call from one of his father's friends, Moritz. Moritz was also his father's lawyer. He called Ben to let him know his father passed away. Moritz urged Ben to come to the family home in Idaho as soon as he could for his father's funeral that would be held the next day. Ben slouched down on his couch as soon as he got home. His girlfriend wasn't home yet. Ben tried to clear his mind, but all his childhood memories floated in front of his eyes. Within an hour, Audrey arrived from work, and as soon as she saw Ben, she knew something was bothering him. "What's wrong, Ben? Why do you look so down?" "I got a call from Idaho today. My father passed away." "I'm so sorry to hear that." "It's all right, Audrey. It's just that I can't stop thinking about him now." "Ben, I've always wanted to ask you, but you've never told me anything about your family. I know your mother passed away, but in these past few years, I've never seen you speak with your father. You always avoid his calls. I remember he came to California, but you refused to visit him. What was the issue? What happened?" Ben let out a despairing breath. "I belong to a very rich family. My father owned a grand mansion in Boise, Idaho. I grew up there with all the comforts and luxuries one could imagine. My mother was always kind and loving. It was a happy and peaceful household. But everything sort of shifted when my mother passed away. I don't have any siblings. I became very lonely and quiet. My father went into depression. Afterwards, he started dating, but he was never able to find someone that he could really connect with. Over the years, I had seen him with a few women, but none of the relationships actually lasted too long. I was about 17 when the real issues began. My father decided to get married again. I didn't have a problem with him moving on in his life. I wanted him to be happy like he was before, but when I found out who he was marrying, I totally lost my mind. He was getting married to this young model. She was an aspiring actress. Her name was Fiona. It was unbelievable. She was half my father's age, maybe just a few years older than me. I couldn't accept that in any way. "Dad, how can you do this?" "I knew you would come. This might be hard for you, Ben. Your mother's death has been hard for all of us. But perhaps you will like Fiona once you get to know her." "No, Dad. What are people going to say? She's so young." "Listen, son. I understand what you're saying. But there's nothing I can do about this now. I can't leave her. She's pregnant with my child." There was nothing more I could say. My father was determined to marry her. The marriage happened within a blink, and before long, Fiona was living with us. I tried to stay positive and get along with her, but I soon came to know what she really was. As soon as she stepped into the house, she behaved as if she owned it. "You've brought along guests at this time?" "Get out of the way, Fiona. This is John. He always comes over here. He's a friend of mine." "Fiona? Shouldn't you be addressing me as your mother? And Ben, I'm warning you. This is the first and last time that I'm allowing this. This is not just your house anymore. You can't bring in these strangers into the house whenever you feel like." Ben, I think I'll head home." "No, John, listen. Don't take her words seriously." Fiona was bossy, and she behaved as if she ruled over the house, as if she was the queen. And above all of that, she had quite the attitude. Within a few days, she started moving all of my mother's things. She took down every picture there was of my mother in that house. She threw out the old and got my father to buy her new things. I tried to talk to my father about it, but he just couldn't see through her pretension. Dad, what she's doing is wrong. This can't go on like this. Are you going to let her erase all of Mother's memories? Ben, try to understand what Fiona might be going through. She just wants to be part of this family. Maybe she's just a little insecure and jealous when it comes to your mother. You should make her feel more at home. No, Dad, she's gone too far. She embarrassed me in front of my friends. She insulted them.
Ben, why are you being so immature?
There was a reason I didn't allow your friends in. I'm your mother. I care for you. You shouldn't be mixing with these bad kids. Look how they have influenced you already. You've been arguing non-stop with your father. Listen, woman, you're nothing but a cheap actress. What do you think of yourself? People can't see through the act? Ben, control your mouth. Have you forgotten who you're speaking to? Fiona is your mother. How can you behave like that? My mother is dead, and this woman has blinded you. Ben, you've crossed the line. Get out. As you wish, Dad. The way I see it, there is no place for me in this house anymore. I'm leaving. I packed my things that same night and left. I never looked back. My father tried to call me. He came to meet me, but I've moved on. As long as Fiona is in that house, I won't be able to live there. It's been 8 years since I've cut off all relationship with him, and now he's no more. The funeral is tomorrow. I'll be taking a flight to Idaho in the morning. I never imagined going back home to see my father's coffin. But I guess life has always been tough. Audrey tried to console Ben, but Ben was in a state of grief. He felt immensely hurt. He was disgusted by his stepmother. He felt like she had snatched his father away from him. Ben miserably went to bed that night. The next morning, he boarded his flight to Boise. He booked a room at a hotel near the family house. There was no way he was staying at the Antler residence. When Ben got to the funeral, he met a few of his relatives. He looked around and spotted his stepmother Fiona. She was standing beside another man, weeping. Ben couldn't recognize this man that she was with. Just then, Ben noticed Moritz joined them. Moritz caught his eye and waved at him. Oh look, there's Ben. Ben? What is he doing here? How's everything going, Moritz? Everything's alright. I've been wanting to speak with you, and your stepmother. There's something I wanted to discuss with you, Ben. What's that? I was in doubt whether you would come. You aren't here for your father's property, are you? I hope you know your father hasn't left anything for you. He's made your stepmother the benefactor to all his wealth. Oh, Moritz, what are you saying? I know Ben must be struggling, but I'm always here to help. Ben, if you need money, you can come to me. I won't mind to help you out now and then. What did you say? You will help me? With what? Did you earn all of this money? You were nothing but a flop actress before my father married you. All of this wealth belongs to my father, and I have a right over it. I don't know what my father wrote in his will, but even if I don't get the property, I'm suing you. Ben, calm down. This isn't a place to be discussing these matters. Ben was infuriated. He couldn't bear Fiona's drama. He wanted to spend a last few moments by his father's side, but Fiona wouldn't let that be. Ben left as soon as the ceremony was over. He booked into the hotel and ordered dinner. While he was freshening up, he got another call from Moritz. Yes, Moritz? Ben, I'm sorry about what happened at the funeral, but being your father's lawyer, there's nothing really I can do. It's alright, you don't need to apologize. I thought there was something you might want to know. Your father did leave a share for you from his property in his early will, but Fiona and her lawyer are claiming your father changed his will before his death, in which he left everything for Fiona. Oh, so that man she was with was her lawyer. Yes, Louis? Probably her new boyfriend as well. Boyfriend? Moritz, I don't believe her. I think the will is fake. You have to look into it. Ben sat down on the bed. He couldn't wrap his head around what Fiona was scheming. It had only been 2 days since his father passed away and she had a boyfriend already. Ben tried to relax. Later that night, he received a call from the hotel reception. Someone had called the hotel asking for him. When Ben received the call, he found out it was none other than Fiona. "Ben, it's Fiona. How are you doing? What do you want?" "Ben, don't turn down my request. I want you to come over for dinner tomorrow evening. There's much we need to talk about. I agree you have a right over your father's wealth. But as a wife, I too have a right. My daughter should also have a share from the property. Let's have a cordial family discussion. We are family after all. We can divide the property amongst each other." Ben was a bit surprised to hear what Fiona had to say. But if she was willing to be fair, Ben was willing to comply. Ben agreed to the invitation, and the next evening he went to the Amsler mansion. Fiona greeted him at the door and escorted him to the living room. The two sat down on the sofa. "Do you want to drink?" "I'm not here to pass the time. What did you want to discuss?" "Listen, Ben, whether you want to accept it or not, I am your father's wife. I'm a mother figure to you. You may not realize it, but I do have deep regards for you. When you left this house, I was worried. I didn't say you weren't my father's wife. We have to put aside our differences and get along. With your father gone, we only have each other." Ben watched Fiona shed tears as she continued. She looked grieved by the death of her husband. Ben kept patience and tried to hear her out. Just then, something sharp pierced Ben's back. Ben was overcome with pain. He felt as if something punctured him. Ben jumped up and turned around. He was horrified to see a venomous coral snake behind him. Ben's father had a hobby of collecting exotic pets. He had many lizards, chameleons, and snakes he kept in personalized aquariums in his mansion. Fiona had always been terrified of them since she came to the house. She tried to get rid of them, but Ben's father had a special bond with his pets, and he wouldn't allow her to do anything of the sort. Ben held his back as he stumbled to the floor. He yelled out in pain as he took his phone out of his pocket. He was trembling and shaking as he dialed 911. Just then, the phone was snatched away from him. Ben was thundered to hear a familiar voice. "Sorry, Ben, I can't let you do that. There was no other way. Your father left everything for you. I had to bring you here." "Moritz?" Ben was thundered. "You betrayed my father. What kind of a friend are you?" Fiona smirked. "Thank you, Moritz. You and your assistant Louis will get what you are promised." "And as for you, Mr. Ben Amsler, what do you think of yourself? You dare threaten me? Do you know how long I had to wait? How much I had to tolerate for this day? I was young and beautiful. I could have married anyone. But I married your father, that old man. There is no way I'm letting go of the property. I ruined my figure. I sacrificed my modeling career to get pregnant. I bore him his child. And you will sue me and take the property? That's never going to happen. I'll make sure there's not a single penny you can put in your pocket." Ben struggled to speak. "You liars! My father left all his property to me? This is all so sad, Ben. Please, don't shed those tears. None of this would have been necessary if the old man had only listened. I tried so much to make that old man happy, but he was just full of it. All he could ever talk about was Ben, Ben, Ben." Ben held his chest and let out a cough. He slowly stood up and chuckled. He looked at the snake and smiled. "Hey there, Leo. I really missed playing with you all these years." "Fiona, haven't you ever heard the rhyme? Red touches yellow, kills a fellow. Red touches black, venom lack. Yellow touches red, soon you'll be dead. Red touches black, friend of Jack. This isn't a coral snake. This is just a harmless scarlet king snake. All of you are nothing but betrayers. Your game is over, Fiona. The look on everyone's face changed. Fiona began to stutter. Moritz and his assistant dropped pearls of sweat. Ben wrenched his phone out of Moritz's hand. Moritz tried to give his best. His assistant tried to hold Ben back, but none could match the strength Ben had. The police soon arrived at the mansion. Moritz and his assistant were taken in for fraudulence, and Fiona Amsler was taken into custody for attempting to take the life of Ben Amsler. You can't arrest me. You have no proof I've done this. There is no evidence. Ben smirked. Get out. Fiona was shocked. What do you mean, get out? How dare you speak to me like that? This is my house now. I own this property. Get out. The police carried everyone away. Ben stood all alone in the mansion. Suddenly, he heard a noise, a sniffle. He turned around and looked at a little girl standing crouched up in the corner of the room. Ben walked up to her. He bent down and smiled. Hi, I'm Ben. I'm your brother. Don't worry about anything. I'm with you. You'll be fine. Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.